The galaxy was in chaos. Worlds that had once lived in peace were now on the brink of war. The strongest alien race, the Zethar, had declared their intentions to invade every corner of the galaxy. Their massive warships were on the move, and no one knew how to stop them. The Zethar were ruthless, with technology far beyond anything anyone had ever seen. It seemed like nothing could stop them. Across the stars, planets were falling one by one, their defenses failing against the overwhelming power of the Zethar. Even the united forces of the Galactic Federation, the strongest alliance of civilizations, were unable to hold back their advance. Many thought that the galaxy was lost, and there was no hope left. But then, something unexpected happened. One day, a mysterious message was received on Earth. It was not from any known race, it wasn't even from the Galactic Federation. The message was short and to the point. A voice strained and desperate crackled through the transmission. "We are the inhabitants of planet Zorath in the Delta Quadrant. Our world is being destroyed by the Gaithar. We are powerless. Please, Earth, we beg you, help us. You are our last hope." The message was a cry for help. Earth had been isolated for so long with little interaction with other galactic civilizations. It was a small planet, known mostly for its blue oceans, green forests, and humble inhabitants. But Earth had something that the galaxy had forgotten: courage, unity, and strength. The leaders of Earth were shocked by the transmission. Most had never even heard of the Zorathians or the Zethar. Some questioned whether the message was a trick, a trap designed to lure Earth into an impossible war. The Zethar were known for their brutality. Could a small planet like Earth really help? But, despite the doubts, the leaders knew that they couldn't ignore the message. If they did nothing, the Zethar would continue their conquest, and Earth would eventually be next. Earth had always stood for justice and peace. Was this not a call to action? They had the power to fight back, or at least try. A meeting was called, and the most influential leaders from every corner of Earth gathered in a secure conference room. As they sat around the table, the weight of the decision before them was clear. The future of the galaxy, and possibly their own survival, rested in their hands. "I say we ignore the message," one leader, President Erica Lawson, said firmly. "We have enough problems on our own. The Zethar are far stronger than we are. What if this is just a trap to bring us into a war we can't win?" Her words were met with uneasy silence. Some agreed with her. Earth had never been involved in galactic politics, and many felt that it was better to stay out of the conflict. The risks of fighting an enemy like the Zethar seemed far too great. But not everyone agreed. A young scientist, Dr. Alan Matthews, stood up, his eyes filled with determination. "We can't turn our backs on those in need. The Zethar are already tearing apart the galaxy, and if we do nothing, they will come for us next. Earth has always been a beacon of hope for others. This is our chance to show that we still stand for something bigger than ourselves." There was a long pause. Some leaders exchanged glances, unsure. But the room fell silent again, as everyone realized the truth in Dr. Matthews' words. If Earth didn't act now, it might be too late. In the end, the decision was made. Earth would respond to the Zorathians' call for help. But the question remained: how could they fight an enemy as powerful as the Zethar? The first step was to organize Earth's defenses. The Earth Defense Alliance, EDA, was formed, and military leaders from all over the world came together to create a plan. They knew they didn't have the same advanced technology as the Zethar, but Earth had something else: their will to fight. Earth's fleet wasn't large, but it was made up of the best pilots, soldiers, and engineers Earth had to offer. New weapons were developed, advanced shields were tested, and strategies were devised. But the clock was ticking. The Zethar were already closing in on the Zorath system. Earth needed to act fast. President Lawson addressed the world. "The time has come for us to prove who we are. We may be small, but we are mighty. We will not stand by while others suffer. We will fight for the galaxy, and we will fight for Earth." The people of Earth listened, and their hearts swelled with pride. The thought of risking everything for a distant galaxy was daunting, but they knew it was the right thing to do. It wasn't just about fighting for themselves, it was about fighting for the future. As the first fleet of Earth ships prepared for launch, there was no turning back. Earth's forces were about to enter a war that would change the galaxy forever. But no one knew what would happen next. Would they succeed in stopping the Zethar? Or would they become just another casualty of an intergalactic war? As the Earth fleet soared into the unknown, one thing was certain. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity was capable of, and it wouldn't be ready for what came next. As Earth's first fleet of ships drifted out of the atmosphere, the weight of the decision seemed to settle heavily on everyone involved. They were heading straight into the heart of a galactic war they had no experience fighting. The Zethar were known across the stars for their brutal efficiency. They crushed entire civilizations without a second thought. And now, Earth had just volunteered to face them head-on. The fleet wasn't large, only a few dozen ships, each designed to be highly mobile and powerful. They were built quickly using the best technology Earth could develop in such a short time. But despite all their effort, there was no denying the truth. Earth was still far behind the galactic superpowers when it came to space warfare. The ships glided forward with the silent hum of engines as the crew members exchanged uneasy glances. They had no idea what awaited them. Captain Lucy Hahn, one of Earth's most decorated war heroes, stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, the flagship of the Earth fleet. Her expression was tense, a mix of determination and worry. She had fought in many battles, but this was different. The stakes were higher. The enemy was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. "We're heading straight for the Zorath system," she said, her voice calm yet firm. "We don't know what we'll face once we arrive, but we have to be ready for anything. This mission isn't just about saving a planet. It's about showing the galaxy that Earth will not back down." Her crew nodded in agreement, the tension in the air palpable. They knew this was no ordinary battle, and each of them carried the weight of Earth's hopes on their shoulders. If they failed, the galaxy could fall into chaos. But if they succeeded, the consequences would echo throughout the stars. As they approached the Zorath system, the crew noticed something strange. The stars in this sector were dimmer than expected. The usual glow of distant suns was muted, as though something was blocking the light. Captain Hahn stared out the window, trying to make sense of it. "Captain," one of the engineers said nervously, "we're detecting unusual energy readings. It's coming from the Zorath homeworld." A deep sense of unease washed over the crew. The Zethar had already invaded the Zorath system, and the sudden readings didn't bode well. What were they walking into? But there was no turning back. Earth's fleet had arrived. The small ships descended toward Zorath, their weapons powered up, shields ready. The fleet's arrival was a signal. Earth had arrived to stand with those in need. As they entered Zorath's atmosphere, they saw the aftermath of the Zythar's attack. The once vibrant world was now scarred. Massive craters dotted the surface, smoke rising from the ruins. The Zorath people had fought bravely, but it wasn't enough. Earth's fleet was too late to save the planet. But they were determined to prevent the Zythar from taking over completely. Just as Captain Hahn gave the order to move closer to the planet's surface, a warning alarm blared through the Phoenix's bridge. "Multiple enemy ships incoming," the radar officer shouted. "They're Zythar warships, they're here." The tension reached a breaking point. The fleet was outnumbered, and the Zythar were arriving faster than expected. There was no way to avoid a confrontation. The time for preparation had passed. It was now or never. "Brace for impact," Captain Hahn shouted. The crew scrambled to their stations, tightening their grips on weapons and shields. The Phoenix shook as enemy fire collided with its shields, sending a violent tremor through the ship. Outside, the battle had begun. The Zythar ships were monstrous, massive, structures with smooth, dark surfaces that absorbed light. Their weapons unleashed powerful blasts that shattered the air. Earth's ships retaliated, their smaller, more agile frames darting through the chaos, firing back with everything they had. But the Zethar were relentless, their warships moving in perfect formation, striking with deadly precision. Captain Hahn watched the battle unfold before her eyes. The Zorath system was their first real test. Earth's fleet was holding their ground, but they were up against an enemy with far more experience. Every second counted. Then, something unexpected happened. As Earth's ships continued to engage, the Xythar, a bright flash appeared in the distance. It wasn't an explosion or a weapon blast, it was something else. Something alien. The light grew brighter, and soon it was clear what was happening. A massive new ship, far larger than anything Earth had ever seen, appeared from beyond the planet's atmosphere. Its surface was covered in strange symbols and glowing markings. The ship seemed to pulse with energy as if it were alive. It was unlike anything Earth had encountered. "Is that a Zorathian ship?" one of the crew members asked in disbelief. "Where did it come from?" The ship didn't respond. It simply hovered in place, radiating power. Then, another shock. The Xythar ships hesitated. They stopped, firing, their movements slowing as they adjusted to the unexpected appearance of this new ship. It was as if the galaxy itself had just shifted. "Captain, what should we do?" one of the officers asked, looking to Han for answers. Captain Han stared at the new arrival. She had never seen anything like it, and she didn't know if it was an ally or a new enemy. But she knew one thing. This was not part of their plan. The game had changed once again. "Hold position," Han commanded, her voice steady despite the uncertainty. "We need to understand what we're dealing with before we make our next move. Stay alert." As Earth's fleet held its position, the mystery ship hovered silently in space, and the Xythar continued to circle warily. What was this new force, and how would it affect the fate of the galaxy? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain. Earth's mission had just taken an unexpected turn. The silence between the Earth fleet and the mysterious ship stretched on, filled only by the hum of machinery and the occasional crackle of static. For a moment it felt like the entire galaxy had held its breath. The Xythar, their ships now hovering motionless in space, waited. Earth's fleet, on the other hand, was uncertain. No one knew whether to trust this new arrival or see it as another threat. But Captain Lucy Han understood one thing above all else: they couldn't afford to wait forever. "Captain," the radar officer said, voice trembling, "the Xythar are shifting their formations. They're preparing to launch a full-scale assault again." Han didn't hesitate. "Prepare our ships to engage at full capacity. We'll make the first move. We can't risk them taking control of the situation again." But as her crew prepared for battle, something unexpected happened. The strange ship began to move, not toward Earth's fleet, but directly toward the Xythar. There was no hesitation in its movements, no sign of fear or uncertainty. The ship, which had once been a mere curiosity, now seemed to be on its own mission. For a brief moment, Earth's fleet held their breath, watching the unknown ship glide through space with a grace that seemed almost unnatural. Then, without warning, the ship opened fire. But it wasn't like any weapon Earth had seen before. It unleashed a torrent of brilliant laser-like energy, but instead of simply damaging the Xythar ships, the beams seemed to alter the very fabric of space itself. A ripple effect shot through the void, warping the area around the Xythar ships. The Xythar didn't respond at first. The fleet, usually so calculated and efficient, seemed frozen, unsure how to react to this new kind of attack. And then, suddenly, the Xythar began to retreat, pulling back in disarray. Their ships scattered like terrified animals. A few tried to launch counterattacks, but their energy was no match for the strange weapon. For a moment, Earth's fleet watched astonished. The battle had turned in their favor. The mysterious ship was not just a potential ally, it was a weapon in its own right. "Captain, we've never seen anything like this," said Lieutenant Marie Jordan, eyes glued to the screen. "That ship, it's rewriting the rules." Han stood in silence for a moment, her mind racing. Who were they dealing with? What did this new ship represent? And most importantly, why had it helped them? But before Han could voice any of these questions, a transmission came through. A voice, deep and resonant, crackled through their comms. "This is Commander Therax of the Zorath Defense Fleet. We are not your enemy." The voice was unmistakably alien, its tone calm, yet it carried an authority that demanded attention. "Commander Therax?" Han repeated, blinking in disbelief. "Where did you come from?" We thought you were all wiped out by the Zethar. I was, Therax replied, the words tinged with an unsettling sadness. My people fought until the last, but we were not defeated. The ship you see before you is the last of my fleet, a remnant from a time long forgotten. I have been in hiding, watching over the galaxy in silence, waiting for the right moment to act. Han's mind raced. But why help us? Why Earth? Therax's voice took on a deeper edge, a hint of something that sounded almost like regret. Because Earth has something that no other civilization in the galaxy has. Hope. The Zethar are not just an army. They are an infection, a plague. They conquer worlds, not just with force, but with fear. The galaxy is on the brink of collapse, and humanity may be the key to stopping them. Han didn't know what to say. She had expected many things in this moment. An attack, a deception, but never this. The galaxy's fate was teetering on the edge, and here was a forgotten fleet hidden away, ready to turn the tide. The galaxy's leaders have failed, Therax continued, but Earth still has a chance to make a difference. Your people have fought in ways no one else ever has. This battle isn't over. The Zethar will return, and when they do, you will need more than just courage. You will need the strength of an alliance, a true united front. Before Han could respond, another voice broke into the transmission. It was sharp, grating, and full of bitterness. You can't trust them, the voice snapped. The Zorathians have been hiding for too long. You're nothing but their puppets. The voice belonged to an unknown speaker, but the message was clear. Distrust ran deep. Han could feel the shift in the atmosphere, the tension mounting between the alien factions. What was the true nature of the Zorathians? Were they really allies, or had they been manipulating events from the shadows? Before Han could ask, Therax's ship fired once more, this time in the direction of the unknown voice. The energy burst was so powerful, it shook the entire fleet. We are not your enemies, Therax's voice echoed through the comms. But we will defend ourselves. Earth must decide whether to trust us or face the Zethar alone. Han stood frozen for a moment, the weight of the decision pressing on her shoulders. The future of Earth and the galaxy itself rested on a single choice: to trust the mysterious Zorathian ship and its commander, or to risk everything in an unknown conflict. We don't have time for hesitation, she finally said, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. Prepare to move forward. We need to know more about what's at stake here. As Earth's fleet aligned itself with the Zorathian ship, the Zethar regrouped in the distance, their warships closing in once again. The battle was far from over, but one thing was clear. The galaxy was about to experience a new chapter in its war for survival. The strange Zorathian ship, now positioned alongside Earth's fleet, seemed to pulse with energy. It was as though the very core of the galaxy was being shaken, and the stars themselves held their breath. But even in the midst of this uneasy alliance, Captain Lucy Han knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. The Zethar were far from defeated, and their forces would come back stronger, more determined. Earth's fleet had only managed to push them back temporarily, but the war had only just begun. Captain Han walked the length of the Phoenix, her thoughts racing. She had led many battles before, but this was different. Earth had never been part of an intergalactic conflict like this, and now they were not only in the fight, but in a position to change the course of history. But it was unclear whether they could survive this challenge. The Zorathian fleet was silent, its ship hovering like a looming shadow. Inside, a single Zorathian, Commander Therax, had kept to the shadows, a figure wrapped in mystery. His motives were unclear, his past uncertain, but the power emanating from his ship was undeniable. Captain, we've analyzed the data from the battle, Lieutenant Jordan said, breaking Han from her thoughts. The Zethar retreated not because they were losing, but because they were regrouping. They'll be back with a vengeance. We'll need more than just our fleet to stop them. Han nodded. She had expected nothing less. The Zethar were never a force to be underestimated, and if they truly were retreating, it meant they were preparing for something bigger, something far more dangerous. We need to learn everything we can about these Zorathians, Han said. Their weapons, their tactics, everything. We have no idea what we're dealing with. It was then that a soft beep echoed from the communications console. A message was incoming, an encrypted transmission from the Zorathian ship. Han motioned for Lieutenant Jordan to open it. The screen flickered, and then Commander Therax's face appeared on the monitor, his eyes, dark and calculating, locked with hers. I understand your need for answers, Captain. Therax's voice resonated with authority. But time is short. The Zethar will return, and when they do, you will need more than just our weapons. You will need the knowledge that we possess. Han's brow furrowed. What do you mean? What knowledge? Therax leaned forward, his voice lowering to a whisper. The Zethar were not always conquerors. They were once a peaceful race until the corruption began. They were manipulated by something far darker than any of us realize. Han's heart skipped a beat. What are you talking about? Therax's eyes darkened. There is a force older than the Zethar, older than even the Zorathians. It is called the Void. It is an entity of pure destruction. Its influence spreads like a disease, corrupting civilizations and bending them to its will. The Zethar are its vessels, its instruments. The war we fight is not just against their fleet. It is against an ancient power that seeks to consume everything. Han was silent for a moment, processing his words. She had heard of ancient forces and legends, but to hear that the Zethar were merely puppets in a much larger game, it was beyond anything she could have imagined. We fought against them for centuries, Captain, Therax continued, but the Void has only grown stronger, and the only way to stop it is to understand its origins. A chilling realization washed over Han. You're telling me we need to fight something that is beyond the Zethar themselves? Something that has been pulling their strings all along? Therax nodded grimly. The Void doesn't just destroy worlds. It erases entire histories. If we don't stop it, there won't be anything left of the galaxy, no survivors, no civilizations. Just an endless, empty void. Captain Han took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. The stakes had just gone from a galactic war to something far worse. This wasn't just about winning a battle anymore, it was about survival on a scale that no one had ever imagined. I don't know how we fight something like that, Han admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. How do you fight something that doesn't even have a form, a body? How do you fight a void? There is a way, Therax said. But it requires more than just weapons. It requires knowledge, ancient knowledge that we Zorathians have kept hidden for centuries. It is a key, one that we will reveal to you. At that moment, a new warning flashed on the screen. The Zethar fleet had returned. But this time, it wasn't a mere scouting party. The ships that appeared on the horizon were colossal, monolithic, war machines, each one bigger than any Earth ship, each one brimming with weapons that could obliterate entire planets in seconds. We don't have time, Therax said urgently. Prepare yourselves. The Void is coming, and the Zethar are only the beginning. We have one chance to stop this. Captain Han's hands tightened into fists. The time for waiting was over. The time for fighting had arrived. She turned to her crew, her voice filled with a new resolve. Get ready. We face the unknown. We face an enemy unlike anything we've ever seen. But we will not stand down. As Earth's fleet powered up its engines, a single thought rang in Han's mind. This is not just a fight for Earth. This is a fight for everything that exists. The battle was like nothing Earth had ever experienced. The Zethar fleet, now more terrifying than ever, clashed with Earth's forces in a violent storm of fire and metal. But amidst the chaos, there was something even more dangerous than the alien ships. The looming shadow of the Void. It was a force beyond comprehension, a dark power that twisted space and time itself. The Zethar, despite their overwhelming numbers and firepower, were not prepared for the cataclysmic energy released by the Zorathian ship. The strange ancient weapons of Therax's people seemed to bend reality, warping the battlefield around them. Explosions erupted in midair, Ships twisted out of existence, and the very fabric of space trembled. But even as Earth's fleet held their ground, they could feel the presence of something far darker, something lurking beneath the surface of the fight. And then, it happened. A massive, blinding wave of energy surged through space, annihilating entire sections of the Zythar
fleet.
The wave wasn't a weapon, though. It was the void itself, its malevolent power seeping into the battle like a disease. Earth's ships felt it too. A strange, cold sensation filled the air, as if the very stars above them were beginning to fade. "Captain!" Lieutenant Jordan screamed as the sensors flickered wildly. "Something's happening to the fleet. Our systems are failing. The void's influence is spreading faster than we can react." "Hold on," Han shouted, gripping the controls as her ship shuddered under the pressure. "We can't let it take us." But no matter how hard they fought, the void's influence was undeniable. Ships began to disintegrate, not by weapons, but by the void's subtle, corrupting touch. It was as though the very essence of existence was being undone, as if space itself was unraveling. "We have to retreat," Captain Han ordered, her voice strained. "We're not fighting the Zythar anymore, we're fighting for survival." Earth's fleet broke formation, attempting to escape the growing wave of destruction. But the Zythar were relentless, sensing an opportunity. They launched everything they had left, targeting Earth's vulnerable ships as they fled from the inevitable collapse. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, a burst of brilliant light tore through the void. A ship, colossal in size, appeared in front of them. It wasn't the Zarathian ship. It was something far grander, far older. The very presence of this ship seemed to push back against the void, as if it were an ancient guardian rising from the depths of time. The ship's energy surged, cutting through the void's influence like a blade through water. Slowly, the destructive wave began to lose its grip on the battlefield. Earth's fleet, battered and broken, found the strength to regroup, their ships flickering back to life as the void's hold loosened. The Zythar, for the first time, hesitated. "This is the Elders," Therax's voice crackled through the comms, filled with awe. "The last of the Ancient Ones, the true protectors of the galaxy. They are our final hope." Captain Han's heart pounded. The Elders, the beings who had long been thought to be myths, had returned. And they were not here to fight for control of the galaxy. They were here to stop the void itself. "We need to go," Han said urgently. "We can't stay here. The Zythar are still out there, and the void isn't done with us yet. We need to take what we've learned and prepare for the next phase of this war." But as she spoke, the sky began to change. The stars above Earth's fleet were flickering, their light dimming as the void tried one last time to consume everything in its path. The massive ship of the Elders moved closer, its energy pulsing like the heart of the galaxy itself. For a brief moment, the battlefield seemed frozen in time, as if the galaxy had reached its breaking point. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the void's influence began to recede. The stars burned brightly once more, and the warship stopped firing. Earth's fleet, battered but alive, held their positions in the vacuum of space. The Zythar, now confused and uncertain, were slowly retreating. "We've done it," Lieutenant Jordan said softly, her voice filled with disbelief. "We've survived." But Captain Han wasn't celebrating. The victory felt hollow, like a brief moment of peace before the next storm. They had survived, yes. But at what cost? The void was still out there, lurking in the darkness, waiting for its next move. "We haven't won," Han said firmly, staring at the retreating Zythar. "We've only bought ourselves a little more time. The real fight is still ahead of us. And this war, it's not just about the Zythar anymore. It's about everything that the void represents." As the ships of Earth and the Zarathians began to regroup, the tension in the air was palpable. They had faced unimaginable odds, but they knew that the battle for the galaxy was far from over. Therax's voice came through again, calm but heavy with the weight of centuries. "We have one chance to stop the void, Captain. One chance. If we fail, there will be no galaxy left to save." The crew of Earth's fleet stood in silence, their eyes locked on the stars above. They had just faced the unknown, and they had survived. But they knew that this was only the beginning of a fight that would determine the fate of the entire galaxy. In the distance, the stars burned bright, an uncertain promise of hope. The galaxy had changed forever, and the true battle for its survival was only just beginning.